an introductory video and welcome to a summer session 2 class, Lit 242, Murder on Screen and Stage. As you can see from this opening image, our class is going to be exploring the relationship between murder, horror, and terror, all of which are underwritten by fear. Okay, The Shining is a movie directed by Stanley Kubrick, based on a novel by the American horror master Stephen King. And the movie depicts a character by the name of Jack Torrance who is possessed, taken over by a hotel, which instructs him to kill his family. And the movie is horrifying for a number of reasons, because here you have a father trying to kill his own son and wife, and the reasons are all the more mysterious, which makes it even more terrifying. This movie, I won't give away the ending for this movie because this is one of the primary texts for our class. We'll be watching this, so I hope you are comfortable with a horror film. The next question you might ask is, who is this disembodied voice speaking to you? I'm Professor Paul Narkunis within the English department. I'm an associate professor and I've been at John Jay since 2007 after teaching at the Pratt Institute and Princeton University. My email address is here because this is the primary means for connecting with me. jnarkunis@jj.cuny.edu. This is an online class, so we're not going to meet face to face. I'm not going to have office hours, and so this email is the best way to reach me. Welcome to our class. Now let's get down to business. By now you've probably seen, or hopefully seen, the course catalog description for this class. I have a more specific one to kind of outline the themes we'll be covering over the semester and how our texts are going to allow us to speak to these themes. So let me read our course description. Our class will explore not only the historical function of murder in numerous political, social, and psychological contexts, but also speak to why humans are so fascinated by murder. From ancient Greek tragedies and Shakespeare plays to popular crime shows like Criminal Minds, CSI, and Law and Order, horror films and zombie hordes on TV, and screens eating humans to live, murder and its aftermath have haunted humans over the centuries. Why are such horrific subjects so popular in our contemporary world, as well as in our ancient world? Is it that human beings are inherently sick? I don't think so, and our class is going to be kind of trying to complicate this issue. To that end, to begin a response, our class will explore two basic questions surrounding murder. How does death haunt the living, with murder as the connection between them both? Second question, how does our individual fear of death, the one thing we will all do besides pay taxes, keep drawing our attention to murder? Everybody here is going to die, I'm sad to say. But it's not something we really like to think about it. In fact, it's perhaps the thing that we most fear and which we most repress. Those issues of fear and repression and death are all kind of subtext for an exploration of murder. We'll be really trying to put them in the foreground for our class. To that end, our course text will guide our exploration of how murder is tied to the connection between guilt and morality, ethics and the formation of law, how the desire for revenge and human resentment lead to unspeakable horrors, how truth can be murdered. Okay, we're going to be really looking at how the truth itself is something that is often killed by lies. And we'll be doing this by focusing on the detective job. The detective as the seeker of truth. His job, or her job, is to restore truth. We will also weigh what the end of the world may actually look like. As we are in the middle of summer blockbuster movie season, where cities, societies, or peoples are regularly reduced to rubble for our viewing pleasure, why is pleasure derived in seeing individuals or societies annihilated? Why is it that if we live in New York City or the surrounding neighborhoods, we like watching this city that we hopefully all love be reduced to rubble, and or characters or people that we may like be killed? What is up? What is up with that? And one thing we never really ask ourselves: what about the aftermath of all this death and destruction? This course is many things. One, it's asynchronous. What does that mean? It means we'll be having no live sessions. Assignments will be posted and you'll be able to complete them on your own time, bearing in mind that there are a series of dedicated deadlines that you must meet in order to receive credit. This course is also self-directed. This means that because we're not meeting face to face, you're going to have to take a lot more responsibility in getting the work done and making sure that you can maintain the stamina to complete the work. This is a very intense class because it only meets over 4.5 weeks. We don't even have a full 5 weeks for this 5 week semester somehow. And so you'll be made aware of the schedule and what needs to be done, but it's really going to be important that you have the self-direction to in order to complete the work. Don't leave points on the table. Okay, you really need to try and get as many points as you can. And so this is going to require you to really be focused on the class and ensure that you can get the work done. Which is to say that this class is packed full with material. Okay, let's go over our course text for the semester and kind of give you a sense of what to expect. Okay, the first text we're going to be looking at is a collection of short stories by Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe is a great American Gothic writer, and he is best known for such short stories that we'll be reading, like The Telltale Heart, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Black Cat, The Mask of the Red Death. But one thing you may not know is that he also is somebody who invented the detective genre, okay, the detective story. And we'll be looking at his detective story, The Murders on the Rue Morgue, to kind of set the stage for later detective stories we'll look at. Poe's life itself was a kind of a melodrama to itself that you could make a movie about it. And in many ways, it was very tragic and horrific. And so that kind of adds an added layer to this. Hopefully, you've been exposed to Poe, and he's going to be a figure that we're going to really look at the relationship between guilt and morality and a certain resentment. The next text is by the Greek playwright Euripides. Right? This is an ancient Greek tragedy, and we'll be only looking at the play Medea, which is about 45 to 50 pages. And Medea is an early, or has been read as an early feminist text because it depicts the terrible status for women in a male-dominated patriarchal society. The story depicts Medea, who has basically sacrificed all kinds of things for Jason of the Argonauts. And Jason, when he comes upon a better situation, abandons Medea and his children and shacks up with another woman because of how it will improve his life. In other words, this is a woman's scorn story going back to ancient Greece. But it also really asks some exciting questions like, how is it that Medea can only have agency? She can only be a subject, somebody who can act by engaging in revenge and engaging in unspeakable horrors. I won't give away anything more, but it is a truly horrific ending. All right. And it does really give us a very concrete sense of how difficult it is for a woman to have agency. The next play we'll be looking at is Sophocles' Antigone. You may have heard of Sophocles through Oedipus. This is where Sigmund Freud, for those of you interested in psychology, got the idea for the Oedipus complex. We'll be looking instead at his play Antigone, which to describe, to analyze the relationship between ethics and law. This is another story of depicting a woman who wants to bury the remains of a relative. And one thing you should note is this is tremendously important in ancient Greek society. If you don't bury the remains of a relative, basically they have no afterlife. And so Antigone is forced with a difficult situation because King Creon has decreed that to bury these remains is an act against the state, against his kingdom, punishable by death. And Antigone nevertheless sees this law as unjust and finds that it's her ethical duty as an individual to resist this unjust law of the state and king. And so this is really kind of getting to larger issues that we can think about today of whether it is ethical and whether it is just to resist unjust laws. Okay, the next book we're looking at is Raymond Chandler's The Big Sleep. Chandler invented the hard-boiled detective novel. He's writing primarily in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. And The Big Sleep is his kind of classic, basically starts the genre. And Chandler liked to explore the seemly side of society because for him, that was in fact closer to reality than all these kind of idealistic and wonderful depictions of human beings. In fact, he really liked to revel in how horrible human beings could be through the detective story. And we follow Philip Marlowe as he becomes this seeker of truth, having to deal with lies, and all kinds of lies, murder, crazy characters, basically some characters that are just so unseemly in an unseemly world that has totally fallen. And Chandler and the detective depicts the detective as the figure who is able to kind of rise above that. The last book we'll be looking at is Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Uh, McCarthy is best known, he's an American writer, best known for No Country for Old Men, but The Road depicts a boy and his father who have managed to survive a horrific apocalyptic event that has destroyed all of civilization. Cities and forests, and basically all of the country is scorched from some event that we're not really given any heed to. And it's a story about humans surviving amidst amazing tragedy, because the father basically is trying to save his son who comes of age after this apocalyptic event, and they must flee from cannibals because everything has been destroyed. And it basically asks, what is left of humanity when everything has been destroyed? A truly horrific and terrifying prospect. Um, Chandler and McCarthy are both novels. They're shorter novels, quick moving novels, but nevertheless, they're novels. And the reading is about 200 to 280 pages for both between the two texts, just to let you know. For this class, you're going to have certain tech needs. Daily access to Blackboard, yes, including weekends. This also means you need to have a connection to the internet. If you don't have total connection to internet during the entire time of this class, you may not want to take it. You also should get in the habit of checking your Blackboard associated email address every day just for announcements. You should have familiarity with uploading papers to turn it in. An optional thing is you should have access to Skype account. All right, this is in lieu of office hours because I'm not going to be having office hours. Your Skype account is the best way to contact me. Get ready, okay? We have 15 weeks of material and 5 weeks of class, really only 4.5. It's kind of terrifying. It's terrifying for me too. It's like a lot of work for me within a short period of time. So you have 45 to 150 pages of reading per unit, and we have 8 units. We have around 15 to 45 pages of reading per day. We have quizzes every 3 to 4 days and a discussion posting every 3 to 4 days. And you have 2 essays due at the end of the semester. Okay, this is a lot of work. Are you scared? Well, do not, as it says from Dante's Inferno's entrance to hell, abandon all hope, ye who enter here, because you receive a considerable amount of credit for doing the basic work of the class, reading, writing, and discussing the text. Because we don't meet face to face, a lot of the work that you do has to be made transparent and is done through responses, and the reading and writing is basically put to the test directly through your writing on discussion board posts. You have considerably less actual reading and writing than you would in a 15-week course. Come on, this is a summer class. We have too little time. If this was a regular class, I'd be assigning considerably more work, at least a couple more books. The assignments build off each other. For example, the discussion board entries worth 40% of your final grade can help you with your essays. Furthermore, the 2 to 3 page essay worth 10% of your final grade is designed to help you complete some of the work for your final research paper worth 20% of your final grade. I'm giving you some of the breakdown of what things are worth. You will also receive feedback from me on the essay to help you refine your final research paper. So you get some guidance before you take on the final research paper. You will hopefully find the material and themes interesting, particularly given John Jay's criminal justice, social justice focus. You need to know Blackboard and Turnitin, okay? The class is delivered by Blackboard, so if you're new to it, you may have some extra work. Let's take a moment to look over some of the basics of Blackboard, a cheat sheet, if you will, of Blackboard for our class. You can see this is our course homepage. One of the things you should first look at is the menu over here. This menu is basically showing you where our course content is. So here's our homepage. These are where any announcements would appear. As you can see, this is the announcements I sent to you beforehand. Here's information about me. And this is where our syllabus is located. Okay, so you can see here's our course syllabus, which you can download. I'd encourage you to download and have a hard copy of it because that will make it easy for your convenience. You really need to know the syllabus. In fact, I require you to do a quiz on the syllabus to ensure that you've read the syllabus closely. You'll also see here the summer academic calendar. Moving